Apple is about to turn the mixed reality world on its head. Why isn't the competition worried? Written by Nyko de Peyer. Legal disclosure. I have no direct knowledge of a forthcoming Apple headset, other than what I have read from rumors and leaks online. The article below is based on past experiences and future conjecture. Do you remember the netbook? Back in 2006 to around 2010, PC manufacturers were fixated on miniaturizing the laptop and figuring out how small and how cheap they could make them. Asus arguably had the most popular netbook of the netbook bunch with the EPC. Almost every other company had their take on the EPC. The netbook took the world by storm. Small, light, and yet not very cheap to buy. In Europe and Asia, however, these things were everywhere. But there was one computer company that didn't join in on the craze: Apple. In the fall of 2008, during an earnings call, when asked when Apple would make a netbook, Steve Jobs responded, "We don't know how to make a $500 computer that is not a piece of junk, and our DNA will not let us ship that." A few months later, in 2009, during Apple's second quarter earnings call, someone asked Tim Cook if Apple was working on a netbook. Cook replied, "For us, it's about doing great products. When I look at netbooks, I see cramped keyboards, terrible software, junky hardware, very small screens. It's just not a good consumer experience and not something we would put the Mac brand on. It's a segment we would not choose to play in." Almost exactly a year later, when Steve Jobs announced the iPad, he referred to netbooks as not being better at anything a smartphone or laptop could do, that they were just cheap laptops. Then, the iPad effectively killed the netbook. But this is how Apple operates. They leapfrog existing tech. When the music industry was trying to find out how to stop music from being pirated, the iPod revolutionized the music listening and distribution experience. When the mobile phone industry was figuring out how to make phones slimmer and smaller, Apple launched the huge iPhone. The iPhone killed BlackBerry, Palm, Motorola, Nokia, compact PDAs, and HP mobile devices. The iPhone killed Flash and forced the adoption of HTML5. The MacBook Air proved the market for premium, slim, and light laptops with normal-sized keyboards. The Apple Watch, while not the first smart fitness device, used smart technology and great user experience to leapfrog existing wearable tech. That's just a bit of how Apple has forced big change in the tech world. Apple looks at the whole user experience, and they look at what future technology will enable and how it will improve people's lives. And based on the latest rumors and leaks, they are about to do it again, this time with mixed reality. Let's take a look at the current VR headset experience. If you get a standalone VR headset like the Meta Quest Pro, HTC Vive Focus 3, or Pico Neo, you are getting a headset that has limited graphics power, has a heavy battery built in that you are putting on your head and only gives you about 2 hours of runtime if you are lucky. And all three of these headsets use the same Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 processor, which is essentially a 4-year-old mobile phone processor that has been modified to fulfill the needs of 6 degrees of freedom in VR. In fact, in 2023, all of the new and existing standalone VR headsets are making use of the Snapdragon XR2. Since all of these headsets are essentially using the same processing hardware, software and user experience becomes a big differentiator. Meta has done a superb job with their software, from inside-out tracking to software updates. HTC and Pico, on the other hand, have their work cut out for them there. Every time you put on a Focus 3, there are several updates waiting, requiring the headset to restart each time. Then there's the question of ergonomics. Once again, Meta is the only company that has really figured out the ergonomics of VR controllers. You will rarely hear Meta device users complain of the controllers. The same cannot be said for HTC, who, in 2023, are still shipping their oversized Wands controllers with the Vive Pro 2. The Focus 3 controllers are so large that anyone with small hands has a hard time using them for extended periods. The HP Reverb ships with Windows mixed reality controllers made from plastics that feel cheaper than a McDonald's Happy Meal toy and vibrate so powerfully and with so much noise that you effectively get a hand massage and very odd looks from anyone hearing you use them. And that's just the controller ergonomics. I won't even begin to touch on headset ergonomics here. Now, if you have a tethered headset, the experiences can break down quite quickly. Between the need for a powerful computer with specific ports, multiple power outlets and converter boxes, and then the bulky, heavy, non-flexible cable that links the headset to the computer, the experience is less than ideal. That said, Meta, and now HTC Vive, have done a good job with the wireless tethering and the single cable USB-C tethering with standalone headsets that can be tethered. But even with this, the process can be annoying to set up and is prone to bugs and failures. For those who use VR on a daily basis, this is just part of life. So to sum up, the current state of VR leaves a lot of room for improvement. All the current standalone headsets are using the same processor. There's only really one player who has made a pretty good software experience and has done due diligence when it comes to ergonomics and usability, while everyone else is focused on technology and device distribution. And this is where, once again, if Apple makes a headset, Apple will leapfrog the current VR leaders. If the competition isn't worried, they should be. Apple has incredibly powerful mobile processors that are capable of amazing performance and PC-class graphics power without the need for fans, and are incredibly power efficient. Apple has a proven track record with integration of software and hardware, being able to create an amazing user experience that just works 98% of the time. Apple understands optics and screen performance incredibly well. While they have not made any mixed reality devices, they did pioneer Retina displays and tech like ProMotion. P3 color and the even efficient backlighting they've used in other devices will most likely work its way into this headset as well. Apple understands gestures and user experience extremely well, and will be able to create an amazing toolkit for developers to work with that will enable totally new experiences. Remember Steve Jobs introducing the iPhone and talking about keyboards and styli? Lastly, Apple knows how to attract and support world-class developers and distribute software like no other. The iOS, macOS, Apple TV, Apple Music, and games stores provide an incredible foundation for app, content, and game distribution. And, in typical Apple fashion, they will make it easy for developers and content creators to port apps and content to mixed reality experiences. They are literally the only company currently out there that has so many competitive advantages for a mixed reality headset. To not go into this market at this time would be foolish. Recently, there have been analysts who have questioned if it even makes sense for Apple to get in this space. Ben Evans, a technology analyst who used to work with Anderson, recently wrote in one of his newsletters, "The catch is that a $3,000 device might inspire or enable new classes of experience. But why would you invest in creating those experiences for a device with the low volumes that a $3,000 price will produce? And, of course, the basic VR question remains, even if we get much better hardware, is that enough to break this out of a subset of games?" A lot of analysts still think mixed reality is limited to games and/or training. Many don't see the promise of mixed reality to enable new kinds of creative experiences, and how it can help revolutionize design, engineering, architecture, and user experience design industries. Till now, the hardware has been hugely limiting, as well as available software. Then there's the whole question of the metaverse. Rumors have stated that Apple isn't really targeting this area, at least not yet. If the recent layoffs in Microsoft's mixed reality team, the shutdown of AltSpace, and the lackluster experience of Meta's Horizon platform are any indicator, the metaverse experience that many companies envision still needs a lot of work. And Apple has never really been great with the whole social platform, so why would they start now? It's a chicken and egg situation. If the hardware isn't good or easily accessible, then why develop the software? Likewise, if there isn't a lot of software pushing the limits of the hardware, why invest in making better hardware? Sadly, in the current tech market, finding the money to invest in better hardware with such a niche market is harder done than said, which makes it once again a perfect moment for Apple, with its deep coffers, to launch a new product. Apple has a record of having product maturity after 3 generations. The first MacBook Air showed what a thin and light could be. Its performance was lackluster, and its pricing was much higher than other products. But Apple knew it could iterate on the performance and value with time. The second generation was okay, but it was the third generation MacBook Air that proved what Apple's intent was. The first iPhone was a test. Remember, they only wanted 1% of the mobile phone market. The initial iPhone didn't have an app store, had a lousy camera, and wasn't all that good. It was a test case to see if consumers liked the touchscreen and bigger form factor. Not until the iPhone 3GS did the iPhone really prove Apple's vision. The same is true for the Apple Watch and the iPad Pro. Apple works like this. Phase 1. Put out a new device which offers new tech and new experiences. See how it is received. Don't worry about making it the best out of the gate. It's about the tech first. See what the competition does and how it reacts. Phase 2. Keep the product the same, but enhance the software, performance, and overall experience. Phase 3. Bring out the big guns. The product has proven its place in the market, the competition hasn't caught up or is not great. Show the world the true vision of the product. With that said, and based on rumors and existing knowledge and general information about Apple, the likelihood of Apple launching a headset in the near future seems very high, and the likelihood of it becoming a market leader early on seems equally high. The first generation headset probably won't take over right away. Again, Apple probably will just want to see if it makes sense and how people and developers use it. The second generation will be okay, better tech, better accessibility, lower price, etc. Even if the first generation isn't great or revolutionary, it doesn't have to be. It will be shots fired. And if the competition, Meta, HTC, Pico, HP, Lenovo, and others, don't respond and respond in a big way, my prediction is that by 2025 or 2026, when Apple announces the third generation of their mixed reality headset, Apple will own mixed reality in much the same way it owns the world of smartphones, tablets, and smartwatches. The current device lineup that we're using, the Meta Quests, Meta Quest Pro, Focus 3s, will seem like netbooks in just a few years. Are you ready for that? That was Apple is about to turn the mixed reality world on its head. Why isn't the competition worried? Written and recorded by Nyko de Peyer.